Okay, this is a test project I've made to test each of my 5EA corrections modules and the asset module that goes with it. If you've read up anything on generic action layers, you'll know that I can do some new things. I'm not going to go into all those because I've put videos and other things onto them. This is just a video of testing each of the ones I've currently made for my users, and I'm only making them as I need them. So if they're not in my game, I'm not making them. So let's start with entangle, entangle's kind of weird. One, I have to make the self myself. All it needs is the keyword with as a self, and if it can find the key asset here, in which case this is a square, so this is the entangle self pointer square that it wants to keep, and there's all sorts of rules on what that name means, but really once you've made it, who cares? I'm not going into it right now. So what I would do is, as a user, as a player, or as a DM, doesn't matter, I'm going to hold the shift down and put a 20-foot square, right? Because that's the spell. The spell is a 20-foot square. And this is using the Advantages PA extensions for pointer areas, because FG just has no ability to let an extension figure out what these are when they're placed or how big they are or anything. You got to do some really weird things. So I'm essentially just keeping the last one placed, and I'll clear the last one placed here, and any of my operations will apply to that last one placed. So this 20-foot square is the last thing placed, and all the user would do is he'd say, well, I'm going to do an entangle. I'm going to throw that out there. I'm going to go ahead and click on my thing, and poof, there it is. For the rules of generic action layers, he had a token one and a one for the pointer square, so it put those out there. Now, essentially what's happened is this has created an NPC that's non-targetable and is not visible to the user, so he doesn't see anything. Matter of fact, all the user's going to see, if I took away the block, is this. And the way Aura works now is always confusing to me. I just placed this, and all I've got here is a difficult terrain comment. But in this particular one, when I advance the turn to one of these guys, then you can see that they're getting that. They're now in range of that. I still don't quite understand when you place an aura, if it should immediately have everything pushed into the effect, but I think they've got some weird things going on there. It depends what you're actually doing, on whether they put it in. Otherwise, it only happens when you start the turn, right? So, and if I move out of the range, right, you can see him disappear, go back in, right, and that's because he's got no rules other than just this little thing. So you're seeing the null going in and out and having that there. Um, and of course, I'm going to leave it on his turn just for now to make it easier to read this stuff. Because when I move these things out, right, you can see them clear when I'm like that, and you can see that this is applied. And because entangle is kind of a weird thing, I can't actually do what I do in all the other ones and have multiple other things, or at least I don't know how to yet. But this is just the most simple thing I have. And of course, when it's done or it expires, right, uh, this 10 rounds would go and it would remove it, or you would physically remove it, right? And when that happens, right, gets rid of all of it. So that's all it is. It's really, if I do the entangle, there it is. And again, it's because it's remembering the last one that I put out there, and pull it off. That's all it is. Um, Now, one thing about that is if I go ahead and hit the entangle, or I'm not just going to say, if I hit the effect on the action for the sheet, whether it's PC or NPC, this thing, I'm going to go ahead and clear it. So it now doesn't even have a pointer. So this does nothing, right? It's just assigning the effect to him. There's nothing going on because he couldn't find the pointer that he was looking for, the square. So he wasn't going to go find the matched asset, so he wasn't going to do anything. So this is pretty basic. It's not going to be doing anything really, except you place the pointer, you hit the effect, and it's going to go look up everything that you have defined, just like I showed. Now, Entangle's a bad one, right? There's not much. It's got some weird, it's doing this save on the first thing. I'm not sure how to do that in Aura right now, so I'm just going to go to Fog Cloud, which is pretty easy. So when we look at Fog Cloud, that's my next test because I'm going to go through and just test all these. That's the purpose of this video, is really just to show me testing this. Gotta love those windows not picking. Okay, so you can see Cloud, it's a 20-foot sphere, so I'm going to go ahead and put my 20-foot sphere, hold the control key, drop the 20-foot, maybe pull it a little bit over, and then I'm going to just trigger it, right? And I have sounds, sorry. But there it is. And you can see that it's placed it, and it's got a 20-foot darkness here. So if I look at these guys, right, they can't see anymore because there's a darkness there. He can, because, of course, he's got that darkness, and he's got this Devil's Sight blinded custom effect, which is right here, so that he's not going to get any of the blinded things that, for my generic actions things, I take care of all the rules, and I don't want to deal with it. So this just helps me deal with him going in and out. But as you can see, the fog cloud's there, and if I decided, I'm going to move the fog cloud, I can just pull it over here, and let's say I was moving it and it had gone to 599. We've gone a turn or two or something, and I decide, what? And I'm not saying this is for a fog cloud. I'm going to just replace it. I'm going to recast the spell, or a lot of these things can move. So I'm just showing you the generic bit here. That's all it took. I just clicked it. We're back in the game, right? Again, this doesn't actually happen, right, until these guys are moving around for them to trigger. I've been talking to the Aura guys about that, and I'm still not quite sure on the rulings here of when things trigger and when they don't. For sure, on turns they trigger. If I do this, they absolutely will trigger as I cycle through the turn. And you saw it skip the fog cloud turn because it's not really there. It's just kind of a thing I use as an artifact. But as you can see, anybody moving through the fog cloud is going to be blinded, except him because he's got that things. But these guys are all blinded till they get out, right? These guys are all blind, and I'm going to just get rid of that circle. Left, right, click gets rid of it. And I'm going to go ahead and drag him. Come on, get off the wall. Right? He has to get into light, right? Because right over here, he's actually out of it now, but he can't see in the dark. So, but I'm just doing this to show you that, hey, this is all respected as it should be. And if I started pounding on these guys with attacks, the blinded rolls would be taken into effect correctly because this guy has true sight and he's doing it. So it's just a complex way of saying it. And again, fog cloud, very simple thing, right? And when I go ahead and go to get rid of him, he times out or whatever, and poof, everything's cleaned up. Now I'm not showing you the actual map assets and their special names and all those rules. That's all described in generic action layers. But let's just continue with some simple stuff. I'm just going to rip through a few of these real quick. Wow, that's... All right, Cloud of Daggers. What are you? You're a 5-foot cube. All right, so we'll draw a 5-foot cube, and it's got to be centered on a point I choose. Okay. So I should be able to just click this because I would have, when I defined my custom effects for this, I would have defined, it's an RO5 single cube, damage A should immediately happen, and then ongoing for each turn. So let's see what happens. Cloud of Daggers, no matching asset found. Cloud of Daggers, self pointer circle. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and check this. Assets. Cloud of, come on, cloud of, there we are. So Cloud of Daggers self pointer square keep. Oh, it's a cube. See, I'm an idiot. So yeah, it's not going to work. So I will hold the shift key down and do my square. But it's hard to see. Anyway, it's always going to be an orthogonal square, even though this is looking kind of off there. It's just for the asset placement and scale that's going on there. The R is doing its own thing because it's going to be attached to it. So let's go ahead and do the Cloud of Daggers now. There it is. Again, they've got it there. And it says, centered on the turn, a creature takes 44 slashing when it enters the spell's area for the first time on a turn or starts its turn there. So this is who? The lizard guy? I think so. Hard to see. Lizard guy, who are you? Now that's natural selection that lets me do that. So I want him to be there for that turn. And so when I hit him, that should be his first turn. He should take damage. And he does. I'm trying to learn how these aura rules actually work, because I always used to expect them to immediately cause damage as soon as they dropped on them. But I was taught valuable lessons recently that no, that's not 5e. 5e does it when they start their turn there, just like the text says. So anyway, that looks correct, right? And of course, he's going to take damage every time. I'm going to go ahead and set him back to 0, because for this test I want to keep him alive. We'll throw him back. I'm done with the Cloud of Daggers, so we'll say he expired. And, that's all there is. From the user's point of view, he's just sitting there. If he's not dumb like me, right, he's actually reading the thing and knows what he's doing. Wow, I can never hit this X. So darkness, that's a pretty basic one. If I look at darkness, it's a fill a 15-foot radius sphere. So let's do that. Now, typically, my guy here in the real game, my player has a sorcerer, and he sits here and just drops the thing right over his head every time, right? And he's got darkness, and because he's got those special things here, if I show you the darkness, right? He's got that custom Devil's Sight blinded, which means if he's not Devil's Sight, he's going to be blinded. But he is Devil's Sight right there, so he's not going to be blinded. So he can actually see through all this, while these guys, right, they're completely blinded, and he's like chopping at them and hitting them with the bonuses for the blinded. This null has blinded, of course, on him, and he will take the roll, whatever those things are. And if you have these two guys in, they're both going after each other, then it's blinded on blinded because they're both blinded. But this is just showing you, hey, these actually respect, the stuff that you've got. But all it really is hey, I hit an action that was a self effect with a name that matched what I expected on the pointers, name, asset, and then it looked up the NPC, And then the NPC said, hey, who are all my effects for whatever name I have in here matching? And then it applies them and puts a non-targetable, NPC out there. And it just lasts the time. But just being, I don't have to do anything. My players will be doing this. I won't be doing this. I'll be just waiting, and they'll draw something and throw a flaming sphere out there, right? Which is the next one to test. Flaming sphere. This is probably going to be a long video, but I don't care. It's just doing testing. So, flaming sphere is what? A 5-foot diameter. So this is more of the diameter thing. So, control, left, right mouse, 5 foot. And where is it? Flaming sphere. See what happens. And there it's got the flaming sphere. Now you can see it didn't quite put it over it. I'm going to hit it again because I could tell this one was that bug I was talking about where it doesn't scale it properly. But the beauty is I have options set to never, ever in BCEG allow for duplicate effects. So I can basically put them back out there and it'll leave the old original effect, yet it'll replace all the NPC tied data, including the asset, to wherever the new spot is. Flaming sphere can move, so I can, if I remember right, so I can just click it again, right? And that's how easy they have it, right? And this is another one of those things that when they start to turn or they start within, whatever, the range. So let's go ahead and do a turn just to show them my silly thing. There it goes, right? Taking fire damage because he's within the aura's range. And you can see him literally in that aura's range. If you look at the effects that got put out there, which of course these 4 effects, right, are actually, and if we look at this guy, we can now see that he has some more lighting from this guy. But those 4 effects were actually stuff I defined in effects. And they all had the same name, right? So that what the NPC has flaming sphere for its trait. So if I look up that trait name, there's the 3 guys that put on them. And that's how it works. Everything's based on the NPC controlling everything. And this, what is it? The action, the actual effect that's on the CT who generated it is actually controlling the life. And he's gone, right? And there it is. And you can see this guy's back. He doesn't have that lighting effect anymore from that sphere that was there. What else? Moonbeam. Same kind of thing, really. Moonbeam is... Wow. Somebody sent me a message, so I'm just going to ignore it. Moonbeam, where are you, Moonbeam? There's the NPC, and all these guys are exactly the same. The text you see down here is an artifact of EE putting the spell text there. All it really has is this Moonbeam name and put out custom effect with EE. That's what this NPC really is. They're all identical except for this, they have a different name here and a different name here. And that name ties to the custom effects that I have defined and what to apply to that NPC. It's not as hard as it looks, but I can imagine it's confusing. So, silvery beam of light, 5-foot radius. Okay, so control key, 5-foot radius, moonbeam. Player did that, and of course I'm going to hit it again because I could tell the scaling didn't go. And there it is. We got our NPC out there. It's got the data there, and the next time his turn rolls around, or the end turn, whatever it says, whatever this definition in the aura is for, right? Probably start of his turn. Yeah. see, there he's sucking up damage again, which I'm going to take off before we accidentally kill him. But you can see, and these are just arbitrary WebMs I created for these things based on Pixababy and some other free assets that were out there. And I put them all in a module and named them all properly so that they would match these up. And then, of course, I'm done with the Moonbeam. Great. Where's my guy? There he is. There's Moonbeam. Or he gets hit, right? Somebody attacks him and he loses concentration. That'll get rid of that, and that'll get rid of everything. I mean, it's all tied together, right? So, all right, what do we got here? Moonbeam, spike growth. I'm going to skip spike growth because, well, I better not. It's kind of like Entangle where it can't really do anything of note. I'll just make sure that the name is there. Okay, so spike growth is a 20-foot radius, so it's going to be a circle. And if I put a 15 radius, right, then it's going to be 15 feet when it scales it. But that doesn't matter because the NPC is going to go into the dead center of it, and the aura is going to define what the true thing is. So what was it? Spike growth, right? And some of these you have to see it didn't scale it right, so I'm just going to click it again. But some of these things don't, when you get them out of the spells, they won't have a self. I sat here for a while trying to click one of these things, wondering why isn't it working? And it was because it had a target instead of a self on it. These are all triggered to only go off of selves. So there it is, and yeah, this is going to be the same deal as Entangle, where you can see it, when you're in it, you're there, or when you're moving, or when the turn goes. But when it first blots down, you don't see it. Pretty simple. Get rid of it. Great, it's gone. But that aura was in effect. Or if I would have left them all up at the same time, they'd all be in effect, right? They each have their own NPC. That NPC is only caring about its stuff. It's not tied directly to anything else, nor should it be. Let's do web. Okay. Come on. Man, I hate this. The windows drive me nuts. All right. So, same deal. Web had, I don't remember, 2 or 3, 4. It's got a kind of a special one. This is what, a 20-foot cube. That always fools me. I always think a web should be a circle. But it says cube, and that's how I made my names. So that's how it's going to be. Web, right? So click it. Okay, scaling again. Once it's scaled, FGU seems to remember the asset once it's been out there once. I wish they would fix that, but painful as it is. And of course, the same deal with these guys. Now, when they move in, right, the first time there's some rule on what it is. In this case, he saved. He could have been restrained. And the web has some special save. It's got this aura restrained when it does a save ad. That's because of the way auras work. I don't want this thing sticking around if it fails once, because every turn it's going to try and do this again. So this aura restrained one, I can actually show you. I don't know why I'm saying it. This aura restrained one, if we actually failed, you'd see that little RS there, remove at the start of a turn, and it's only for 1 round. So this is like, if it fails, it'll be there and only be there for a round. It'll never, and I made a special one to do that. And I believe Everds also shares that same one. But that's all it is. You're saving for the poison, right? Everything's good. There's no problem. He gets hit on the head with a axe. He fails his constitution or his concentration saving throw. It goes away, and poof. You do nothing. That's the whole idea of my game. I don't want to be doing anything except the flow of the game. Let let the game take care of the game if I can get it to, which is never always easy. Alright, so Cloud Kill. Right, and it's a 20-foot radius sphere, so we'll do 20. I'll just do 15 to show you that I can screw up here. I would need to draw 20 to get the graphics to appear, but who cares? The aura is going to be correct regardless. So, and there's that. And the reason you saw that is because he's got the turn, right? So he's got the vision. Vision's always fun based on select. So if I select him, you can see what's really there. And the user is not going to see this Cloud Kill, only I am, because I've got the access. But you know, he's again, he goes in there. He's subject to the poison, but his vision, he's not subject to the darkness. This is one of the more complex ones because you'll see that he actually has a bunch of these things, right? He's got the Cloud Kill for the actual damage that is done every turn. He's got the darkness. He's got the skip turn, so this little tool I use doesn't get a turn in here. And he's got the Devil's Sight, right? So that this guy can still see in here while everybody else can't. If it's done it right. What does he got? Devil's Sight. He's got Cloud Kill, Blinded, Poisoned. So he's actually poisoned now. I'm curious what just happened. So he's out of there. He should see. Yeah, he does. And that's an artifact not of anything here. This is just weird ass stuff that I don't understand sometimes between aura and keeping track of things that move in and out, right? It seems like most times it works, but you know, at this point I've got it working good enough that I don't care. And I've spent enough time on it that if these guys want to use this video and look at it and say, what's going on? That's fine. But this is so above and beyond what I used to have, what I used to have to deal with, that this has made life so much simpler. Gee, surely I didn't put System Shock in here. So we're back to where I just set it. And you can see how easy it is. I'll do Insect Plague so I can test everything. Insect Plague. Right. Of course, window doesn't want to play. What is it? 20-foot radius sphere. Okay, so it's a radius sphere again. And we'll do Insect Plague. First time, doesn't look right. Next time. I got this off of Pixababy. It's really just a bunch of ants, but you can do whatever you want. After a while, it gets really tedious, so I just kind of go meh. And I'm sure if I end turn and somebody's in there, yeah, they're going to start rolling dice. Wow, 3 dice. Now, I saw something there. I do have System Shock. Well, that's going to be annoying. And what you're seeing here is I have a debug set to show me all the lookups so I don't have to guess what it's trying to look up. And these things look up for everything, right? They're looking up for, you can put a asset out for almost anything. That's a generic actions thing that I'm not going to mess with. All right. I'll have to check later on if this is right, that all 3 were in there, and when I hit a turn, they all triggered off. Is that correct? I don't know. I don't understand aura greatly. It may be. Maybe somebody can tell me based on what they just saw on those rolls there. But that's Insect Plague. I'm seeing everything trigger, though, and actually be what I told it to do within what aura can do. So I'm happy enough so far. Incendiary cloud. That's the last one. So we will get rid of you silly things there. Insect plague there. Incendiary cloud. What do you got for me? 20-foot radius sphere. So do the 20, put everybody in it. So what the heck, right? And I'll hit it again. See who sees. He should be able to see through there. He should not. He should not. And if we hit end turn, it starts a new turn and everybody rolled. Right? And it looks like they rolled again. So I may have to look into that.